Hello, Michael. Hello, Ernesto. Namaskaram. Today we have a question that says, I wish we could address the issue of what nuances and characteristics the different degrees or levels of silence have as attention is increasingly shifted to 180 degrees. For example, feeling less and less of the body, being more sensorially isolated, less affected by physical pain, etc.
It's not so much, but we are less aware of the world or less aware of the body or any of these things. We are less concerned about them. That is, so long as we rise as ego, these things appear inevitably. But the more we turn within, the less concern we will have about any of these things. Yes, the world will still appear. Yes, the body will still appear. But we will lose interest in them. We'll be indifferent to them. Yes, we may, according to our prarabdha, we may undergo difficulties. The body may have diseases. There may be pain. There may be this. There may be that. But we are not so concerned about it because our interest is in turning within. The more we are interested in turning within, the more we will lose interest in outward things. So the things are still there. They still, the problems of life still remain and everything, but it becomes very light. It's no longer troubles. We're not carrying it as a burden. Anyway, we understand all these things are taken care of by Bhagavan. Bhagavan has said it's all happening according to prarabdha. What is to happen? It's already predetermined by Bhagavan for our good. So let life throw any amount of problems at us. So what? Why should we be bothered about these problems? Some problems, it may seem that we can solve. Some problems, it seems that we can't solve. Whether we can solve them or not, it's not really so important. Yes, sometimes we may be prompted if there's a problem, if we've got some bills we've got to pay and we don't have enough money, we may feel prompted to go out and get a second job and to earn a bit more money or whatever. But even then, if our main focus is on turning within, those outward actions will go on according to prarabdha. We'll go out, we'll get the second job and we'll work more. But inwardly, we'll be indifferent to these things. We'll be indifferent to the long hours we're working. We'll be indifferent to the financial difficulties we're undergoing, whatever it is. Even if everything's going very nicely in life, even if money comes and we've got all the comforts and conveniences of life, it will be nothing for us. If we see a hungry person or a poor person, we'll be happily giving things away. If we've got them, we'll happily give. So because the attachment is not there, the concern is not there.
Maybe we can say that when you are attention to yourself, the prarabdha karma is interrupted, no?
No.
Depends on the grade, no?
The prarabdha is going on. So long as we rise as ego, the prarabdha is inevitable. We will not be, to the extent to which we turn within, will not be affected by the prarabdha. Will not be.
But if you are in a Kevala Nirvikalpa Samadhi, for example, it's not Sahaya Samadhi, but you are in a state very profound of self-attention, whatever passing around this body, you don't know nothing about
if you are very intent on self-attentiveness, you will not be in Kevala Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Kevala Nirvikalpa Samadhi is a state of manolaya, as Bhagavan said.
But it's temporary, no? Maybe when you are going to be self-attentiveness, maybe in the process, you pass for a stage of trying to stay attending to I am, to your consciousness, but you can't take the 180 degrees, no? You are maybe in 150 degrees, no? And in this sense, you are very, very, very inside, very profound in your self-attention, but the ego not disappear yet.
Yes.
And you don't know nothing about the family, about your friends, about
yes. That is, you will not be affected by. That is, if you're sitting in a cinema, if you're very interested in the film, you'll be watching it throughout, from beginning to end, you'll be watching it. If the film doesn't interest you so much, you'll still be sitting there looking at it, but you'll be thinking about something else. So you're looking at it, but not looking at it. When you come out of a cinema and your friends say, "Oh, wasn't that great, that film? Wasn't it?" You're scratching your head. You can't really remember it because you took so little interest in it because you were thinking other thoughts which were interesting you more. So it's like that. But prarabdha will still go on, but we'll be indifferent to it. We'll be unconcerned about it.
Yes, when I said that disappear, I trying to say that no finish, but you don't affect for it.
Yeah,
no?
That is the important thing. That's why I started by saying it's not that we're less aware. It's not that we cease to be aware of the world or cease to be aware of the body. We cease to be concerned about them. The problem is our concern, our interest in these things. Our aim is to be concerned about and interested in one thing and one thing alone. Who am I?
For example, the other day, one friend told me that now in Tiruvannamalai, there is a Swami that I don't know if you know something about it. There is a Swami that is all the day in front of a wall, sitting in silence. No? And some people are going to see him because pass all the day absolutely sitting in this front wall. No. Yeah. Do you hear something about it?
No, I've never heard this, but there's a Buddhist story about, I can't remember who it was, one of the Buddhists who first went to China. I've forgotten his name. He apparently sat for many years in front of a wall.
Yes. Told me a friend that is speak with a person stay in Tiruvannamalai 20 years.
Yes.
And told to this friend that this Swami now is in this position. No, I don't know. Maybe he's not attending himself. No, he's in Kirvala and Vikalpa Samadhi. It's not. No.
That is. We can see only the outward behavior of people. What is happening within, we can't see. Sometimes we can guess. If we see a person acting very greedy and very angry or something, we can infer that their mind is not in a calm and peaceful state. But you can be sitting in front of a wall for 10 years and your mind can be playing havoc inside, but you just happen to be controlling your outward action. So we cannot know what state other people are in. It does seem a bit odd if one's mind is drawn to this path of facing within. Why would one want to sit in front of a wall? Whether you see the world or not, we are always where I am. So we are not trying to shut out the world. We are trying to attend to ourselves. If we are, to the extent to which we attend to ourselves, we are thereby not attending to the world.
So in a way, it's like.
But if, in the eyes of worldly people, if someone sits in front of a wall for 10 years, facing a wall and seemingly absorbed in some sort of meditation, yes, for worldly people, that's very impressive. They'll like this must be a great Swami, and they'll be attracted. But I think I would be personally, if I were to come across someone who sits in front of a wall and had thereby attracted a great following, I would be suspicious or skeptical about what that person's motives are, and to
sit in front of the wall and not sit in a chair.
Yes.
In the field.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in a way, those signs would be like feeling less the body, or as it says in the question, being more isolated or less affected by physical pain. That could be interpreted as a sign of progress, and that could take your attention out. Also, I mean, so we shouldn't expect any change in our perception of the world. It's just the attitude towards our prarabdha.
And I am not passing judgment on this Swami, because maybe he is turning his mind within. He just happens to find it helpful to sit facing a wall rather than being distracted by the world. Maybe we don't know, but it in and of itself, sitting in front of a wall all day long is not impressive. It may impress worldly people, but from a spiritual perspective, it's not impressive. Keeping the mind facing inwards, that is impressive, but that cannot be seen by anyone.
Yeah. And not even be measured by us.
No, it can't be measured by us. So long as there's an I to say, I keep my mind facing inwards all day long, that I would say that I keep my mind facing within, that is ego, which means it's facing outwards. The nature of ego is to face outward. To the extent to which we actually face within, to that extent the I will subside. I'm not doing anything. Who am I to do anything? Everything is being done by Bhagavan.
Yeah.
But that can also be a pitfall. If you start doing things outwardly and say it's all done by Bhagavan. There's an incident in talks. One man was in the evening. There was a squirrel, I think, or one or two squirrels who were. They were obviously maybe they were abandoned by their mother or something. Or they have fallen out of the nest, or for some reason, Bhagavan was taking care of them. But because there was danger around, other animals may prey on them, because they're still very small, Bhagavan, at night time, Bhagavan would ask them to be put in a cage for their own safety. And when the squirrels who were being put in the cage, they were still playful or something. I don't know I can't remember exactly what it was. But anyway, someone in the hall started suggesting, maybe they're thirsty. They should be given water. Bhagavan kept quiet. And again, this person was saying that. And Bhagavan said, how do you know what they want? Because you've been sitting on the hot rocks in the hot sun all day long. You were maybe feeling thirsty. Why should you be imagining that the squirrels are feeling thirsty? And then that man said, whatever I do only prompted by Bhagavan. And Bhagavan said, enough of this. You're in a very lofty state. You're acting only as directed by Bhagavan. All us ordinary people are acting according to our will. Bhagavan was joking to him. And then Bhagavan said, I saw you, when I went on the hill, I saw you sitting on a rock in the hot sun. I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to interfere, but you've been coming here for a long time with all this behaving in this way. Now I'm pointing it out to you. This is not the way to go. Something like that. Bhagavan said, this is not the way to go. And that man said, I'm not doing anything of my own will. I've surrendered to Bhagavan. I'm doing everything according to Bhagavan. I have no will of my own. And Bhagavan then refers to a sloka from the Mahabharata where Duryodhana or someone, maybe Dhritarashtra, someone was saying I do everything. I have something to the same effect. I can't remember what it was. Anyway, that sloka is given there, but so we shouldn't. So long as we are acting outwardly, we need to take responsibility for our own actions. We shouldn't be saying, whatever I do, I'm doing only because Bhagavan is making me doing. Bhagavan said to that person, enough of this nonsense, stop. Because pretending that we're acting without any will on our part, So long as we're rising as ego, we're inevitably acting under the sway of our will. So we need to, the more we turn within, the more we are truly surrendering to Bhagavan. And the more we surrender to Bhagavan, the less and I will rise to say, I have surrendered. Everything I am doing is, I'm being made to do by Bhagavan. So long as there's an I to say that, we haven't surrendered, which means we haven't turned within.
Yeah, that's part of the importance of understanding his teachings, not to fall in the
yes,
not to
exactly.
hit, not to crash.
Yes.
Against the pitfall.
Yeah. Because meanwhile, how you said, Michael, no, we arise as ego. The first step is to be responsible of our acts as ego.
Yes.
And after you can say, yes, I am afraid, for example, no, or I'm sad, or I'm whatever. And after that, in second step is who is, no, attend yourself, no, to.
That is, so long as we rise as ego, we have an inclination to allow our attention to go outward. So long as we allow ourselves to be swayed by the inclination to go outwards, that is an action of the mind. The movement of our attention away from ourselves is the beginning of all mental activity. And mental actions, thoughts, lead to words and action and bodily action. So all karma begins from the seeds, from the vasanas. When we allow ourselves to be swayed by vasanas, our attention moves away from ourselves. And to the extent to which our attention moves away from ourselves towards other things, to that extent, we are acting according to our own will. But body, speech, and mind may also be being directed according to prarabdha. Certain actions, the actions that are necessary in order to experience prarabdha, the body, speech, and mind will be made to do. But even when we are acting under the sway of our vasana, even when we're acting as made to do by God in accordance with our prarabdha, that doesn't absolve us of responsibility, because often the things that we are made to do according to prarabdha are things anyway we want to do. So, because often we are destined to experience what we want to experience, or we want to experience what we're destined to experience. We may think, oh, I wanted this, therefore I worked hard for it, now I've got it. Therefore, it's nothing to do with destiny. It's all by my own will I got it. We couldn't have got it if it hadn't been destiny. But just because it was our destiny, and just because the actions that we needed to do in order to get that we were made to do by God in accordance with our destiny, doesn't mean that we weren't also acting under our will. So if we want to avoid acting according to our will, in other words, if we want to avoid doing agamya, we need to avoid being swayed by our vasanas. In other words, we need to hold on to self-attentiveness and thereby not allow our attention to move away from ourselves, even to the slightest extent. Because to the extent that our attention moves away from ourselves, it's under the sway of our vasana. And to that extent, we are doing agamya.
So it cannot happen, Michael, a situation where our prarabdha or God makes us do something that we don't like to do. That could happen.
Yeah, sometimes it happens.
Sometimes our will. I mean,
yeah, sometimes it happens. But many things in life we do, but we don't like to do. Yeah. We would maybe like to have a job, but we really enjoy doing. But circumstances will compel us to do some job, but we don't like doing.
Right.
It's so. Many things that we do in life, we feel under some pressure or other. We feel some obligation, or we feel some necessity, or we do something we don't want to do because we want something else. I don't want to do this job, but I do want the money. This job pays very well. So though I hate this job, I'm ready to do it because I want the money. So our will is so long as we want anything, so long as we have the slightest inclination to rise and to attend to anything other than ourselves, inevitably we are doing agamya to a greater or lesser extent.
The most important.
Want to avoid doing agamya, we need to cling firmly to self-attentiveness.
Yes. So, and the most you can stay attending yourself as I am, more capacity to detect the first movement of the asana,
yes.
to don't be swayed by it.
Exactly. That's why Bhagavan said, by practicing and practicing in this manner, the power of the mind to remain in its birthplace increases. Because the more we cling to self-attentiveness, the more the purer the mind becomes, and the more clearly we can detect even the slightest rising of a vasana.
Becomes more obvious.
But when we're still in a relatively gross state, we sit down with an intention. I close my eyes. I'm going to attend to myself. We may attend to ourselves for a second or two, and then our mind goes off. And 5 minutes later, oh, I was meaning to attend to myself. I've forgotten all about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, as you say, the deeper we go in this practice, the more our ability to detect the very moment at which our attention begins to move away from ourselves. And when we detect that, we can stop it.
And sometimes stop it and attempt yourself, know with the same intense that maybe it's possible for you when you are alone in your house without any noise, no? In the first steps, no? For example, in my case, no, begins in this way, no? I can stay with other people speaking or no, and attending myself. And giving less attention to the only enough attention for all the commentaries, but the power of attention to ourselves only and Kaivalya absolutely as I am is more easy in the first stages, no?
Yes.
When you are alone in your house, no, in the silence of your room, that's with people.
Yeah, because it seems to us. But when we are acting by mind, speech, and body, it seems to us that our attention is necessary. At first, it seems. But the more we go deep in this practice, the more it becomes clear all these things go on even without our attention.
Yes.
We can see this even for ordinary people. There are many actions throughout the day, we are doing so many actions by mind, speech, and body, but often very little attention is on these things. Take, for example, driving a car. When driving a car, you're doing so many things. If you think about it, you have to be vigilant to so many things. You have to be vigilant to other cars, and you need to be vigilant to the lights and to the line in the middle of the road, and you need to be vigilant to so many things. But all these things are going on automatically. You're hardly noticing because it goes on autopilot. Likewise, all the actions we are to do in life can go on autopilot, because the actions that we need to do in order for our prarabdha to unfold, we will be made to do. So we need not attend to those actions. We can surrender even those. We can leave it all to Bhagavan. Take my mind, body, and speech. You leave it. They're your instruments now. My only intention is to turn within. So if we have sufficient love to attend to ourselves, the actions of mind, speech, and body will go on without our taking any interest in them, without our attending to them at all. But that's an advanced stage. At the early stage, it still seems to us, or if I attend only to myself, then I can't do my work. It seems to us. Okay, then you do your work and just try to hold on to at least a tenuous current of self-attentiveness.
You're right. That's I don't know if that's a belief or it's we think we have to be there to attend to things and make things work.
Yes.
Bring things about. Of course, if we're not there, who's going to do it?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And people say, "Oh, my work involves a lot of it's mental work. I have to sit in front of a computer and I have to do so much. I can't just be attending to myself all the time because if I'm attending to myself, I can't do my work." Actually, if as we go deeper in this path, it becomes more and more clear to us that the actions that we are made to do in accordance with destiny can go on perfectly well without our attending to them at all.
Yes, and you don't know how whatever you need to read or to need to write or to need to analyze, no?
Yes,
is doing without without miss your center, no? As I am, no?
Yes.
You are fixed. You are fixing it, and you know that all these develop automatically.
Yes, no? But it is very, very useful at the early stages to at least try, even though it still seems to us that we have to attend to our work. Let us attend to the work, but let us not forget our own being. I cannot be doing this work if I didn't exist. So we try to keep at least a certain degree of attention on our own being, on ourself. Let some of the attention go on other things, but at least a tenuous current, as Bhagavan said, a tenuous current of self-attentiveness should be there in the background.
Yes. It's progressive, no? First of all, no, you give a little smarana, no, to remember what you are, and afterwards it's like Douglas Harding said, no, you are all the time in telling yourself, and you can look what's happened.
Yeah, to others it looks like you're facing that way. To you, it looks like you're facing this way.
And also, you might think, who knows what am I going to say if I leave to Bhagavan the conversation? Or
yes.
Okay, so I don't know.
If you don't trust Bhagavan, don't leave it to Bhagavan. Bhagavan may make you say something very stupid.
That requires a high degree of trust.
But whether we trust Bhagavan or not, he's going to make us say whatever we're going to make us say. Even when we think we're saying something deliberately, sometimes we say something, oh my God, I should not have said that. I really put my foot in my mouth. We suddenly realize after saying it.
Yeah, where did that come from?
Yes.
Right. Okay, I don't know if you want to add anything else. Some question or
no,
nuance or something?
The main answer to this question is, but the more we turn within, the more we will be unconcerned about the external things. The world and body and world will still appear, but we will be less and less affected by them.
But not only unconcerned about you don't hear and you don't see, don't affect you really, no, because you feel as I am, as your real nature, and you don't feel
you won't be concerned whether the pictures appear on the screen or they don't appear on the screen. If your interest is just to see the screen, whether the pictures appear or they don't appear, you're still looking at the screen.
Yes.
The screen is I am. So whether things appear or disappear, it doesn't matter. So that's why Bhagavan says in the last line of verse 6 of Arunachashtakam, that's the verse in which he's talking about how the world is projected like a cinema projection. He ends by saying, Nindrida Sendrida Ninevida Vindre. Let them appear or let them stop appearing. They are not other than you.
And
So
in
our
that sense,
attention should only be on I am, and let other things go on or not go on. It's no concern of ours.
Mhm. Is it possible to lose the fear of death before losing ego?
No, no. We may think we've overcome the fear of death, but it's always potentially there, because so long as we take this body to be I, who wants to die? We don't want to die. We want to live. So the fear of death is there inevitably. The fear of death will go only when we experience ourselves as we actually are, because when we experience ourselves as we actually are, we will know that there is no such thing as death, because there's no such thing as birth. Nothing has ever come into existence or ceased to exist. What exists always exists as it is, and that is us. That is what we actually are.
So even though a minimum fear there will be there, because you hear stories from people that are on their deathbed, and they say that at least that they don't care about death, and there's, I mean, different stories, you know.
Yes, but one reason why we are not more preoccupied with death and the fear of death, though we all know one day this body is going to die, we all are also aware, but we are deathless. So we live this life as if this body is going to go on forever, even though we know it's not going to go on forever. The reason we do so is because we experience this body as I, and we deep down inside we know very clearly I can never cease to exist. Mm-hmm. So we our own immortality, the immortality of our real nature, we superimpose on the body. So even when people are on their deathbed, they still believe they're going to continue in some way. If they're religious people, they believe they're going to go to heaven or they're going to be reborn or something. Even if they're total atheists, still because of their identification with this world, they think the world is going to go on, and they're going to go on in some sort of way. At least the memory of me will go on. Because all the things that I've worked hard for in my life, these things will go on. Everyone has some sort of a sense of immortality. Even the atheist has some sort of sense of immortality, but they superimpose their immortality on other things.
Yeah, so in a way, that sense of deathlessness impacts our ego, us as ego.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Because ego is a mixture of what will inevitably die, namely the body, and what will inevitably live forever, namely I am. So ego is a complete confusion, and we can see that confusion in the inconsistencies of our actions, our beliefs, and everything.
I remember the analogy. I heard you use an analogy of some news that have part of truth, and part of the news are fake.
Yeah.
And part of the news is no. So
yeah.
It's a common. Well, it's It's common to think that okay, if all this news is all the information is all mixed up there.
Yeah.
First, you have to start taking the pieces of information that are false and correct the information with you. But in this case, it would be, deleting the whole news.
Yes. Well, a very good example. This book, Aham Sporana. Have you heard about this? This ebook that's been on Amazon for the past few months, and now a new version of it has come out. There are portions of that that are patently false. I mean, they cannot be true. I mean, they're so clearly false. But a lot of it seems to be very authentic. It seems to be just how Bhagavan used to Bhagavan used to speak, how he used to answer questions and everything. And there's a lot in it, but seems to be not someone who is going to fabricate all these things will not have a person with a deep understanding of Bhagavan's teachings wouldn't fabricate things. And a person who's going to fabricate things, it's hard to see how some of these things could be fabricated. So are we to say, some people have concluded the whole thing is a hoax because there's some portions which are patently false. Someone else has written a small book, the Aham Spurana's hoax, saying that the whole thing is false because some things are clearly false. Whereas other people say, no, you can't throw out the baby with the bath water. Some portions are clearly not correct, but some portions we can't be sure, but there could be some grain of truth in them. And so many things are like that in life.
Yes, true.
That's how conspiracy theories thrive. Often in conspiracy theories, there's a certain degree of truth. But of course, they exaggerate that and they distort it and everything, and it becomes a conspiracy theory. But if you were to tell something completely false, if you say that dragons are descending on the earth every night, and or nowadays there's so many, we read about so many forest fires in so many parts of the world, in California, in Australia, and so many other parts of the world. They're having terrible forest fires. Supposing you come up with a conspiracy theory, it's because at night dragons are coming and blowing fire at these things. People aren't going to believe you. But if you say something like, if you want to make a conspiracy theory, there has to be some element of truth in it in order to make it plausible. And then those who want to believe it will believe it.
Well, I don't know if flat earthers have some degree of
well, yes.
exceptions.
The earth seems to be flat if you look at it very superficially.
That's true. That's true.
But right. It's amazing what people believe. Like some of these conspiracy theories about 5G and all this, but it's the government is trying to control your mind, or by the vaccine, this COVID vaccine. If you take the COVID vaccine, there's something they put in that so that the government...
Like mind control or something, huh?
Yes. But people believe these things, so...
Yes, that's the also the reason why ego is so difficult to disentangle, because it's this mix of fake information,
exactly
information, all mixed together in the same piece of news.
That's why it's called Chit Jada Granti. Chit and Jada are two totally different things. Chit means it's aware. Jada means it's not aware. But two things, Chit and Jada, that's awareness and body, are somehow combined together as if they're one. Mm-hmm. So it's no wonder we believe all sorts of weird and wonderful stories, conspiracy theories and everything. The most wonderful story of all is I am this body. If we're ready to believe I am this body, as we all are, we'll believe anything.
Whatever is possible.
Yes. Whatever is possible, whatever is impossible. Because I am this body is impossible. As Bhagavan says in verse 24, the body the body does not say I. In other words, the body is not aware of itself as I. Sat-chit doesn't rise, but in between something rises at the extent of a body. So that thing that rises as I am this body, it cannot be sat-chit because it rises. It cannot be the body because it's conscious. So it's neither this nor that. It is a complete, it's a formless phantom, as Bhagavan says. Mm-hmm. And it seems to, but it causes so much trouble. Mm-hmm. So long as we rise as this formless phantom, all this world appears with all its wars and famines and birth and death and all these things. But if we turn within to look at it, Tedinalotum pidicum, if we seek it, it will take flight, because there's no such thing. We seem to be ego only so long as we're looking at other things. When we look at ourselves, there's no ego to be found. So the only way to eradicate this ego is to be looking at ourselves more and more and more.
I think everything has been said, yeah?
Yes.
For this question, and I don't know if some flat earthers are watching us or something, but we don't have nothing against them. Nothing against.
Let people believe. Let us not ridicule other people's beliefs.
Of course.
We are believing I am this body. So that is more foolish than any conspiracy theory, but we're all believing it.
That the grandfather of the conspiracy.
Yeah, exactly. It's the grandfather of all beliefs, of all right beliefs and all wrong beliefs. So ultimately, all beliefs are wrong because this fundamental belief is wrong.